Have you ever wondered if your love story was written long before you even knew it? If the people you meet, the ones who touch your soul and change your life, are not accidents, but part of something far greater than chance? Deep within every human heart is a longing not just for love, but for a love that feels destined, purposeful, and eternal. We ache for connection that doesn't fade with time, a bond that feels like it was authored by something beyond us. And that longing is no mistake. It is a sign that your desire for love is not random, it is woven into the very blueprint of your life. C.S. Lewis believed that love itself is not a human invention, but a reflection of God's design. If that is true, then every step in your love life, even the heartbreaks, even the disappointments, carries meaning. What feels like delay may actually be preparation. What feels like rejection may actually be protection. And what feels like waiting may actually be God's way of shaping you for something extraordinary. This changes everything because it means your love story is not left to chance, it is written with intention. The truth is, we often think of love as something we must chase, something fragile that we must hold on to before it slips away. But when you begin to see love as part of God's plan, the pressure shifts. You no longer have to force what isn't meant for you, because what is meant for you cannot be taken away. You no longer have to compare your journey to anyone else's, because your story is unique, designed to fit your soul in a way no one else's could. This perspective gives hope even in the hardest seasons, because it reminds you that nothing is wasted, not the tears, not the waiting, not the lessons learned along the way. Think about it. Everything in life that truly matters takes time to build. A foundation strong enough to carry the weight of a lasting relationship cannot be rushed. God's plan for your love life is not about quick gratification. It is about deep transformation. It is about preparing two hearts, molding them through experiences, shaping their character so that when they finally meet, their love can endure storms and still stand. This is why patience is powerful. This is why trust is essential. Because the love God writes into your story is not fragile, it is built to last. Psychologists often speak of how humans crave both safety and meaning. We long for relationships that make us feel secure, but also ones that give our lives purpose. God's design for love satisfies both. When you meet someone aligned with His plan, you don't just feel safe, you feel inspired. You don't just feel comfortable, you feel called higher. That is why love outside of this divine blueprint so often feels empty. It may excite you for a moment, but it cannot sustain you, because it was never rooted in the eternal. Only love born from God's plan carries that kind of depth. This truth matters because it changes the way you approach love. Instead of rushing, you begin to prepare. Instead of chasing validation, you learn to rest in your worth. Instead of fearing the future, you trust that the author of your life has already written the chapters you have yet to see. And when you live with that trust, your entire energy shifts. You stop clinging to people who aren't meant for you. You stop settling for relationships that drain you. You start holding out for the love that feels like it was crafted just for you. Imagine what it would feel like to look at your love life and see it not as random, but as purposeful. To understand that every person you've met, every heartbreak you've endured, was part of shaping you for the love you were created to experience. Suddenly, the pain has meaning. Suddenly, the waiting has value. Suddenly, your journey doesn't feel like wasted time, but preparation for something greater than you imagined. That shift alone is powerful enough to change the way you live, to lift the weight off your shoulders, and to fill you with hope again. And here is why this matters so deeply. When you embrace the idea that God has a plan for your love life, you stop asking, when will it happen for me? And you start asking, how can I become ready for the love He has written for me? That change in perspective is life-changing. It takes you out of desperation and places you into preparation. It moves you from fear into faith, and faith is where miracles begin. If you stay with this message until the end, you will uncover what makes this divine plan so different from ordinary love. You will discover how love, when aligned with God's purpose, becomes more than just a relationship. It becomes a calling, a mission, and a reflection of eternity itself. Because the truth is this: God did not design you for shallow love. He designed you for a love that awakens your soul, challenges your growth, and reflects His divine nature through the way you give and receive it. And once you see love in this light, you will never again settle for anything less. Your story is not an accident. Your longing is not a weakness. Your love life is not forgotten. It is part of a divine plan, written with care, shaped with intention, and waiting for the moment when you are ready to step into it. That is the blueprint of love, sacred, eternal, and designed for you. If God truly has a plan for your love life, then that plan will not just comfort you, it will reveal you. Love is not only about companionship or happiness, it is a mirror that reflects back the truth of who you are. This is why so many people are shaken when they enter a deep relationship. It is not just about joy and connection. It is about being confronted with the parts of yourself you could hide when you were alone. Real love exposes both the beauty and the brokenness within you. And in that exposure, it offers the chance to grow. C.S. Lewis believed that love was one of the greatest tools for transformation. It does not flatter us endlessly. It does not leave us unchanged. Love holds up a mirror and asks, "Are you willing to become more?" That is why the right relationship will sometimes challenge you. It will bring to the surface your pride, your impatience, your fears, and your insecurities. At first, this can feel uncomfortable, even painful. But it is not meant to break you, it is meant to build you. Because the love God designs for your life is not shallow. It is not temporary. It is a love that pushes you closer to the person He created you to be. Think about how often we resist growth. We cling to comfort zones, to old habits, to familiar patterns. Alone, it is easy to convince yourself you are fine as you are. But when someone loves you deeply, they see the version of you that even you may not yet see. They see your potential, your strength, your calling, and because they love you, they will not let you stay stuck in small. This is why divine love refines you. It calls out what is weak, but also awakens what is strong. Psychologists say that humans crave both unconditional acceptance and constructive challenge. The healthiest relationships provide both. When you feel fully accepted, you are safe to grow. When you are lovingly challenged, you are motivated to rise. This balance is what makes God's plan for love so extraordinary. It is not one-sided. It is not comfort without growth, and it is not growth without support. It is both together, perfectly aligned, to create transformation that would not be possible on your own. Imagine being with someone who not only loves who you are today, but also inspires you toward who you can become. That kind of love shifts your perspective. Failures stop looking like proof of weakness and start looking like opportunities to become stronger. Mistakes no longer define you because you are reminded that you are capable of learning and evolving. And even when you feel like giving up, the one who loves you according to God's plan will remind you that your story is not finished. That reminder can change the trajectory of your entire life. This is why settling for shallow relationships is so dangerous. Shallow love avoids truth. It avoids growth. It clings to temporary pleasure while ignoring long-term purpose. And while it may feel good for a moment, it leaves you empty because it does not help you become who you were meant to be. Real love, the kind that reflects God's design, does the opposite. It pushes you toward wholeness, even if the journey is uncomfortable. It doesn't let you remain stuck in fear, selfishness, or doubt. It calls you to rise into courage, generosity, and faith. There will be times when this mirror of love feels harsh. You may not always like what you see. But remember, reflection is not rejection. When your flaws are revealed in love, it is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of opportunity. It means there is more inside you waiting to be unlocked. And the beauty of God's plan is that He places people in your life not to shame you, but to help you grow into the fullness of your purpose. This is what makes divine love so powerful. It is not simply about two people making each other happy. It is about two souls sharpening one another, encouraging one another, lifting one another closer to the image of God. That kind of love creates resilience. It creates character. it creates a foundation strong enough to carry not only a relationship, but an entire future together. And this is the reward. When you embrace love that reveals and refines you, you stop fearing the mirror. You begin to welcome growth. You begin to see correction not as criticism, but as care. You start to value truth more than comfort, because you realize that only truth can set you free. That freedom gives you strength to face life with confidence, knowing you are loved not just for who you are, but for who you are becoming. Love that is part of God's plan will never leave you unchanged. It will challenge you, stretch you, and shape you. But in the end, it will reveal a version of yourself you never thought possible. And as it transforms you, it also transforms your connection. Because two people willing to grow together create a bond that is unshakable. They are not simply holding hands, they are building something eternal. That is the beauty of love as a mirror. It reflects both where you are and where you are called to go. And when two souls commit to walking that path together, something even more powerful begins to emerge, a love built on sacrifice, a love that endures, a love that mirrors the very nature of God himself. Would you like me to keep flowing into that dimension of sacrificial love with the same depth and intensity? So the script unfolds seamlessly. The deepest proof of divine love is not found in what you gain, but in what you are willing to give. Every meaningful relationship demands sacrifice. Not sacrifice that drains you or diminishes you, but sacrifice that proves love is stronger than selfishness. C.S. Lewis described love as an act of the will, not just a fleeting emotion. Feelings rise and fall, but a willful choice to love remains unshaken through seasons, storms, and silence. And when you choose to love in this way, you align with the very heart of God, who showed that real love always costs something, but what it gives back is infinitely greater. Sacrifice in love does not mean losing yourself. It means letting go of ego, pride, and the relentless need to always be right. It means putting another person's well-being on the same level as your own. In a world obsessed with self-promotion and personal gain, this kind of love feels radical, but it is also the kind of love that endures. Temporary love asks, "What can I get?" Divine love asks, "What can I give?" When you live in that shift, you discover a freedom and strength that selfishness can never offer. Psychologists often talk about the paradox of happiness. The more we chase it directly, the more it slips away. But when we give ourselves to something greater, whether it's purpose, service, or love, happiness often follows as a natural result. In relationships, the same truth applies. The more you demand love to serve you, the emptier it feels. But the more you commit to serving love, the fuller it becomes. Sacrifice is not a loss. It is the soil where trust, intimacy, and joy grow roots that cannot be shaken. Think about how powerful it feels to know someone is willing to stand by you, not just in convenience, but in challenge. To know that even when life is difficult, they choose to stay. That choice becomes an anchor. It tells you that your worth is not conditional, that your value is not measured by how perfect you are, but by the fact that you are loved despite imperfection. And when two people both choose sacrifice, when both put the other first, it creates a bond that no trial can easily break. Sacrifice also teaches resilience. When you lay down comfort for the sake of love, you discover strength you never knew you had. You learn patience in moments of waiting. You learn humility in moments of conflict. You learn perseverance in moments of difficulty. Each act of giving shapes your character, chiseling away selfishness and fear, and revealing a heart that is capable of deeper love than you imagined. The very struggles that once felt like burdens become the foundation of unshakable devotion. This is why God's plan for love is never just about personal happiness. It is about holiness, about transformation, about learning to love as He loves, and His love is never passive. It does not stay at a distance. It steps in, it gives, it sacrifices. To walk in His design for love is to reflect that same truth. It means being willing to bear burdens, to forgive when it's difficult, to fight for unity instead of feeding division. These choices may not always feel easy, but they lead to relationships that endure beyond the shallow and temporary. Sacrificial love is not dramatic or grand every time. Sometimes it looks like patience in a heated moment. Sometimes it looks like listening instead of interrupting. Sometimes it looks like setting aside your own preference to honor another's need. These small acts add up. They build trust, they build respect, they build intimacy. And over time they create a relationship where love is not just spoken, but proven daily. But there is also a hidden beauty here. Sacrifice transforms not only your relationship, but your soul. Every time you choose love over selfishness, you align yourself more closely with God's heart. Every time you let go of pride, you gain humility. Every time you forgive, you gain freedom. Every time you give, you expand your capacity to love. This is why sacrifice never leaves you empty. It leaves you greater. The reward may not always be immediate, but the transformation is eternal. The most powerful truth is this: love without sacrifice is shallow, but sacrifice without love is empty. When both come together, when your love is willing to give, endure, and serve, you create something that mirrors eternity. That kind of love is not fragile. It cannot be destroyed by passing storms. It carries a strength that flows from God Himself because it is rooted in His nature. And when you taste this kind of love, you know it is not something you could have built on your own. It is evidence of divine design. If love as a mirror reveals who you are, love as sacrifice reveals what you are capable of becoming. Together they form the path toward a relationship that is not just for this life, but points to something far greater. A love that grows, a love that gives, a love that loves. And when you walk in that, you no longer have to fear whether you are enough, because you know that in God's plan, love has already made you more than enough. Would you like me to continue building this final arc into a climactic close, where the script lifts into a vision of eternal love that ties together growth, sacrifice, and God's ultimate purpose for relationships? Every love story designed by God carries a thread that stretches beyond time itself. The love He writes is not meant to fade when seasons change or when challenges appear. It is not a fleeting spark that burns brightly and then disappears. It is a fire that endures because it is rooted in something eternal. Human emotions alone cannot sustain this kind of love. Feelings shift like the wind, but when love is anchored in God's plan, it becomes something far greater than emotion. It becomes a covenant, a reflection of His everlasting faithfulness. The deepest longing of the human heart is not simply to be desired, but to be chosen fully and forever. This is why temporary affection leaves people empty. It gives glimpses of joy, but collapses when tested by difficulty. Real love is different. Real love endures the storm because it is not built on convenience. It is built on commitment. It is not a matter of I love you because it feels good right now, but I love you because I have chosen to, and my choice is stronger than circumstance. That kind of love has a sacred weight, a power that echoes eternity itself. C.S. Lewis wrote that love, when aligned with God, is not just a desire to possess, but a desire for the good of the other. That perspective changes everything. Because when love is focused only on what it receives, it becomes fragile. But when love is focused on giving, on building, on lifting the other higher, it becomes indestructible. And when two people share this vision together, their love becomes a testimony not only to each other, but to everyone who witnesses it that true love exists, and it is stronger than fear, doubt, or time. One of the most overlooked truths about love is that it teaches us endurance. Endurance is not about barely holding on. It is about becoming stronger as you walk through trials. Just as muscles are built by resistance, love grows when it is tested. Every obstacle faced together, every hardship endured, every disappointment overcome becomes part of the foundation that makes your relationship unshakable. What others see as breaking points, you will come to recognize as building blocks. The struggle does not weaken love, it refines it, strengthens it, and proves it worthy of trust. This is why God allows love to be tested, not to destroy it, but to deepen it, not to take it away, but to show you what it is truly made of. Because when love survives trials, it stops being just an idea or a promise, it becomes a reality you can stand on. It becomes the anchor that holds you steady when everything else feels uncertain. And that kind of love is not just a blessing. It is a calling, a mission to reflect the unshakable love of God to a world desperate for proof that such love exists. Psychologists often say that human beings crave security above almost anything else. We want to know that what we have will not be taken away tomorrow. When love is real, it gives that security not through empty words, but through consistent action. You no longer wonder if you are alone in your battles because you know someone has chosen to stand with you. You no longer question if your worth depends on performance because you know your value is affirmed by their steadfast choice. That assurance creates freedom. It frees you to be yourself, to grow, to flourish, because love has already given you a foundation that cannot be shaken. But here is the most powerful truth. The endurance of love is not just for your own happiness. It is meant to point beyond you. When people see a love that lasts, a love that endures storms without breaking, it awakens hope. It reminds them that not all love is temporary, not all bonds are fragile. It whispers to them that if such love exists for others, it can exist for them too. Your love becomes more than personal. It becomes a testimony, a living example of God's design. And in a world filled with brokenness, that kind of testimony is light in the dark. Eternal love is not about perfection. It is not about never facing conflict, never making mistakes, or never struggling. It is about returning again and again to the choice of love. It is about forgiveness when it is hard, faithfulness when it is inconvenient, and hope when it seems easier to give up. That is what gives love its eternal weight. Because when you keep choosing, when you keep enduring, you are not only building a lasting bond with another person, you are stepping into alignment with God's own love, which never quits, never breaks, and never gives up on you. This is the greatest promise of all, that when love is rooted in God, it is not fragile, and it is not fleeting. It does not crumble under pressure. It grows stronger. It reflects the eternal nature of the one who designed it. And when you live inside this truth, you no longer chase temporary sparks, you carry a fire that no storm can put out. That is the love worth waiting for, worth building, and worth holding on to until the very end. Would you like me to now carry this energy into a final climactic close that ties all the sections together into one powerful vision of God's ultimate plan for love? Love that is aligned with God's design does more than bring two people together, it transforms them. It shapes character, refines purpose, and awakens the deepest parts of the soul that may have been dormant for years. When you step into a love that reflects His plan, you do not simply find someone to walk beside you. You discover someone who calls out the best in you. They do not let you settle for mediocrity. They see who you truly are, and they remind you of it when you forget. This is why divine love is so powerful. It does not just comfort, it calls you higher. The truth is that the right kind of love is never just about romance. It is about growth. It is about growth. It is about being sharpened, stretched, and inspired to step into the fullness of who you were created to be. A relationship that comes from God becomes a place of transformation, where two imperfect people are continually being refined, not by forcing each other into an image, but by lifting each other toward a greater vision. The love itself becomes a mirror, showing you not just where you are strong, but where you need to grow. And the beauty is that this growth is not demanded, it is nurtured. It flows naturally, because love rooted in truth does not tear down, it builds up. C.S. Lewis once said that love is not affectionate feeling, but a steady wish for the loved person's ultimate good. Imagine what happens when two people live by this. Instead of competing, they complete. Instead of draining each other, they energize one another. Every word spoken, every decision made, every step forward becomes less about selfish gain and more about mutual growth. In that space, you are not just surviving together, you are thriving together. And that is where love becomes a divine partnership, something far greater than two hearts connecting. It becomes a mission, a force for good in the world. This kind of partnership ignites something within the human spirit, Because deep down, every soul longs not only to be loved, but to live with purpose. And when love and purpose collide, it becomes unstoppable. You begin to see that your connection was never random, never accidental. It was designed so that together you could bring something into the world that neither of you could accomplish alone. Maybe it is kindness that multiplies. Maybe it is strength that inspires others. Maybe it is simply the way your union reflects hope in a world that has grown skeptical of lasting love. Whatever form it takes, divine love always overflows it, always extends beyond the two who carry it. And yet, the most extraordinary part is that this overflow doesn't drain you. The more you give in a love like this, the more you are filled. Because true love, the kind anchored in God's plan, is not a finite resource that runs out. It draws from the well of eternity. It is like a river that never stops flowing. Even when life feels heavy, even when challenges arise, this love provides strength you didn't know you had. It pushes you forward, reminds you why you began, and holds you steady when your own strength feels small. Think about how powerful this is. The very love that holds galaxies together, the love that set the stars in place and spoke life into existence, is the same love God desires to pour into your relationships. You were never meant to settle for shallow connections or fleeting emotions. You were meant to experience something unshakable, something eternal, something that brings you closer to Him even as it brings you closer to another person. That is the plan He has for your love life, not empty passion, not temporary excitement, but a bond that transforms, uplifts, and endures. When you begin to grasp this truth, something shifts inside you. You stop asking, "Will I ever find love?" And you start asking, "Am I becoming the person who can carry the kind of love God has for me?" Because divine love is not simply found, it is stewarded. It requires preparation, maturity, and surrender. It requires the willingness to let go of control and trust that the author of your story knows what he is doing. And when you do, when you release your grip on fear and insecurity, you open yourself up to receive a love that is infinitely better than what you could create on your own. The longing you feel in your heart is not a mistake. It is not weakness. It is the echo of eternity within you, the reminder that you were made for something greater than fleeting connections. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every unanswered question has been preparing you for the moment when love rooted in God finally arrives. And when it does, you will understand why the wait was worth it, because this love will not just fill the gaps, it will fulfill the purpose. It will not just make you happy, it will make you whole. The world tells you to rush, to settle, to chase after sparks that fade quick. But God whispers, "Wait for the fire that never burns out." And when you trust that whisper, when you align your heart with His timing, you will find that love does not just change your relationship, it changes your entire life. It expands your vision, deepens your faith, and leaves a legacy that outlives you. Because true love, the kind He designs, does not end when life does. It carries forward into eternity, an unbroken reflection of His own everlasting love.